Hello, everyone. Good evening. It is Counselor at Large, Julia Mejia. And you're tuning in to Woke Women Wednesdays when we talk about all things Black and Brown, the breakdown. I know you have to endure a few reruns over the last few weeks. For those who follow the show, know that every Wednesday we showcase women in different spaces and places sometimes. And as you know, at 11 o'clock in the morning, you kick your day off with on Wednesdays with Senator Diane Wilkerson at 11. And then at 8 p.m., you tune in to my show at 8. So for the last few weeks, we were in session with our budget hearings and on the council. And then with the 4th of July weekend, I took a little vacation. So I am here, though, back and ready for the work. We have kicked off a series where we're going to be interviewing all of the women across the city of Boston that are running for elected office. And I think it's really important for us that we climb as we lift and create space for women to showcase this election. And as even though I'm running too, it's not about me. It's really about creating space and an opportunity for everybody to step into their power and to showcase all of their bright ideas and what they would do when elected onto the council. So in the spirit of being about all means all, tonight I have a special guest for you. This woman here I met many years ago working in the community organizing space. She's a fierce advocate, a parent, a social justice warrior, a community organizer. Sometimes I think she's my soul sister because her energy matches mine like nobody else's. And so I'd like to bring her on to our show. Without further ado, welcome.
Yes.
Williams is in the Zoom.
Hello, my friend.
It's so good to see you.
Oh my gosh, so good to see you. And I'm so glad that you're having me tonight. I so appreciate you. And it's good to know that you had a vacation. Because, you know, anybody who knows you and knows how hard you've been hitting the ground knows that you, of all people, deserve a well-deserved vacation. So I'm glad to see that. And I'm glad to see baby girl was out there doing her thing with you, having fun.
Absolutely. You know, so Josette is running for District 4. And before we dive into her race, I'm so glad that you really acknowledge the importance of self-care, because as organizers, we forget to do that. And, you know, it was really important for my daughter to be able to have undivided time with me because in this work, and I'm sure you know, as a mom yourself, how difficult it is to juggle working full-time, running full-time, and then being a parent full-time. And none of that is easy. But when we do what we love, it never feels like work. And you do your work with so much love, Josette. So I'm so happy that I encouraged you to step into your power to lead. And I told you not to leave yourself at the door for anyone.
You did.
So let's start off with just giving our audience an opportunity to know who you are. So just give us an introduction. Tell us who you are, what you're all about.
Oh, I love that. And thank you. Thank you for the acknowledgement. Thank you for a little bit of the history. You know, I am someone who is a fierce advocate. I am Josette Williams. I'm running for Boston City Council District 4. But most importantly, you know, I am somebody who's worked in the community for many, many years, 30 plus, and all across the city of Boston, from juvenile justice to health and human service, and now serving at the Boston Public Schools in Countdown to Kindergarten. Folks who know me know that I am someone who is absolutely dedicated to my work. No matter what I touch, you know you have someone who is absolutely committed from beginning to end. So, most importantly in that work, though, it's about the families. It's about ensuring that children and families' well-being, first and foremost, are at the forefront of everything that I do. Dignity and humanity for our families, regardless of their socioeconomic background, linguistics, history, whatever that may be, that we are ensuring that, and I'll use your language, Councilman here, all means all, and that we are doing that fight that means we're advocating and we're creating spaces for everyone to really have a seat at the table. So as a single mom who's been doing this for 19 years with my daughter, and I've been doing the work as I was parenting as a single parent for 19 years. So, as a community organizer, as someone who was the first unsung hero award at the Vital Village Network from my peers who gave me that incredible award, to starting first teacher. This is the work on the ground that I hold dear, that is so important to me, and important about ensuring that families are truly the ones at the table for solutions of change. Yes, I have a great voice. Yes, I'm a fierce advocate. And I love that you said, matching that energy. Because I always say, when I'm in a room, I've been there. Even if you don't know me, I've been in that room. But most importantly, hopefully, when I've left that room, I've left you with an incredible sense of knowing that that is somebody you want to be connected to. That is somebody you want to be in service with. And that's what I'm looking to do, really be in service with community, ensuring that families continue to have that voice at the table, and that they are truly the champions and the solutions of change. I can be the voice in the seat to help them get there, but I want families with me in that seat, pushing change, pushing the policy so that policy changes for good for us. That this is not about a Band-Aid. This is not about a one-time thing in order to get to the next thing. This is about changing our district, ensuring that it's a gem, and we invest, period.
Period. Period, y'all. You hear that?
Period.
In order for people to really, truly understand just all of the different spaces and places that you've been in, let's talk a little bit about First Teacher. That was an organization that you were one of the founding board members of, right? Or one of the founding founders. So let's talk a little bit about what is First Teacher, the work that organization does. And then I want to talk to you about the community organizing training that you and I participated in with Vital Village too. So let's first talk about First Teacher.
One of the proudest moments. I actually am the chair of First Teacher, and I advise folks to please look us up, First Teacher Boston. First Teacher is really about building social capital within the community, ensuring that families are at the table and ensuring that their children are ready for school. For many, many years, we have heard about an achievement gap for Black and Brown children. And often we have made very little strides in terms of making a big impact on how families see themselves as their child's first teacher. This is not about once, your child gets to school expecting someone else to have their best interests in mind. This is about ensuring that as a group of individuals living in a community together, that we pull together and leverage what we all have and create a community, a true village that allows us to support one another and create those solutions around being our child's first teacher. And really the education, learning about the synapses, learning about the brain, learning about how, by the age of 5, 95% of a child's brain has developed. All the things that you can do way before they even hit school to have an impact on their ability to thrive once they get to school. We've built that organization. You're on mute. Oh, sorry.
I'm so embarrassing. I'm the show host.
No.
Oh my God, sorry guys. So what I just want people to really truly understand in terms of that work is that you recognize the power of parents and recognize that they are literally the first teachers, and we we need to recognize that if we're really serious about systems change and we're really serious about policies that are centered with the lived experiences of those that we hope to serve, then the work that you've done in that space really prepares you to be able to lead with that in mind, right? And so I'm so incredibly happy to know that in your journey that you're going to bring that perspective and that sensibility to what this looks like. And then the other piece of it is we met at a community organizer, a parent organizer training. I got a little scholarship that I was able to participate in. And the Vital Village was putting together. And, that was all about centering self, community, around this discussion around systems change. So even before walking into the council, you're already modeling a lot of the best practices that I think are missing right now. Because I always say it doesn't matter what what your pedigree is or what your degree is or who your networks happen to be, is that you have to have this ability to relate to those that you serve, not just because you've been through some of those things, but that you have a sensibility and a real genuine ability to connect with people. And what people don't know about you, Joe said, is that those who know you, they know you with your little tutus, right? Like your energy is infectious, right? Like you light up a room, right? And I think that there's a sense of joy that is missing in politics too. And I think that, that's why I always told you, please don't leave yourself at the door or dim your light or try to be acceptable. Be a candidate that is relatable, because that is more of what we need. And I hope that that message resonates for you, because you are enough, or more than enough.
Well, and you know what, Julia, I appreciate that, because I can only be me. One of the things I start out by saying to folks all the time is Brooklyn born, Chelsea raised, Dorchester developed. And if you know anything about those cities, you know about my struggles, and you can know about my successes to be where I'm sitting today. And in order to be sitting here means that I've had to navigate some spaces. I've had to do some things, and I had to get over some challenges and barriers in order to sit here in this space. But one of the things I won't have society do is take away my joy. I love that you said that, because I think most people who truly know me, and if you look at my signs, there's a sun that surrounds the O in Josette, right? The O is truly the sun. It's what I bring. It's the happiness. And of course, we know there's enough out here to depress us. There's enough inequity out here to keep us feeling like there's no success and no hope. But I refuse to allow society to continuously remind us that somehow our oppression should be weighed on our shoulder as a way that we should compromise how we live and how we want to live. My happiness is important to me, and raising my child in a country that may or may not have a lot of changes in it, she deserves to be here. We deserve to be here, and you deserve to be happy. And I don't wait for others to make me happy. I truly live and have determined to live with a certain amount of joy. Coming into a space and recognizing that, yes, you're right. I mean, I am known for my tutus. I am known for my capes and my big hats, but I work with kindergartners, right? That's about bringing, when you start out this pathway for education, it should be about joy. It should be about, stepping into an experience, feeling full and ready to take on all of the new experiences that this pathway is going to give you. And that's what we should be doing for our families. However, I'm asking to enter politics in the way that people see the other side of Josette, the social justice side of Josette, the racial equality of Josette, right? The work that means that I will also advocate, and I am the activist that will ensure that our families get true justice. I'm not trying to step into a space to keep status quo. I've been a community organizer way too long, telling other folks, listen, just do what needs to be done for families who have been left out of the conversation. So I'm not trying to step into a space to just, say, well, how can I be here and how can I just be the happy person at the table? You'll still see that, but you're also going to see a person who's going to look seriously at the things that are going to dismantle and change what has oppressed our people for far too long. And we need to be on that pathway together and aligning together.
So let's talk a little bit about some of your top priorities, right? So now that you got a full sense of all of who Josette is, the many facets and dimensions that she brings to this work, can you just tell us a little bit about some of your top priorities and what's your vision for District 4?
So, I've started out with my 3 R's, what I call the reactivation, the recovery, and the rethinking. And reactivation has everything to do with ensuring that we get folks to the ballot. And I know some folks are disheartened. They feel like, we have voted. But this opportunity in our city to have some of the most unprecedented people sitting at the table, particularly women and women of color, to really push policy aligned with our state, local, and federal folks who are, really trying to ensure equity. That's where I want to ensure that I'm a part of, right? Like I'm helping to push the voice of the community, not just go and vote. We want to make sure that City Hall comes back to our community. We want to ensure that we're in spaces and places that folks understand what policies are trying to be pushed, and where they sit for the decision making and how it's going to impact District 4. We want to make sure that we are communicating and acknowledging because every district doesn't need the same thing. And frankly, every block doesn't need the same thing. So we want to ensure those voices are hitting the table and those decisions are truly being led by the person they asked to sit in that seat. So for me, that's the true reactivation, the vote, the voice, and ensuring that we are pushing those policies aligned with what's going to impact our city for constituent services. Secondly, we obviously we've been in COVID, how do we recover? Everything from our mental health services to our housing, food insecurities. The constituent services of how we address these things are going to be the most important. Housing eviction, right? We don't want people being displaced. We want to make sure what just happened to kids in schools in terms of being on laptops for over a year. How are we catching them up? We were all just sitting on the exam school conversation at school committee just now, and how this is a historical moment for change for us. We want to be pushing and ensuring that every change, whether it be getting more social workers in our schools, family liaisons, that all of this really means that we're touching families and that we're connecting to their needs and we're moving them out of COVID in a space where that they can continue to thrive. We don't want to continue to say it's okay to struggle and just get ends meet. We want to make sure families have the ability to move forward in a real just way. And then rethinking. We have to rethink education and we have to rethink housing. This is not about, yes, we have the exam school conversation going on right now, and that is a historical moment for the city. And I know it's hard for people to see progress because when you lose something, right, that means someone else gains something. Just let's keep it really simple, right? And at the thought of losing what you've always had access to and privilege, it hurts. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, you have start to think about, well, look at the people who haven't had access to it. How long have they had to sit back and watch others get access and watch their children, go to schools that they didn't feel were quality? But we have to invest in all of our schools. This is not about the bottom sum. The 3 schools are not our bottom sum. We have to push that all of our schools have excellence. We have to push and ensure that those early years, those kids are being prepared way before that exam even comes up, whether or not they choose those schools. We want our kids ready for 21st century opportunities for work and career, whether that be a world-class trade school or some of the best universities we have right here in our own city. There should be no question that our kids can get into these schools, sustain in these schools and don't come out with a tremendous amount of debt in order to survive in this city.
Yeah, yo, I see the passion, and I'm like 100% all in around this conversation because, I said in my testimony today that I didn't even know, my mom and I, we didn't even know exam schools even existed, right? And so when you're juggling to make your ends meet and you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay the rent, you don't have disposable income to think about, oh, I'm going to send my daughter to tutoring. No, I'm going to send my kid to go work because she needs some money on the table so that we can eat, right? And so I think that this conversation around this moment in time is an opportunity to repair the harm, and to right the wrong.
And it's so important, Julia. I mean, you talk about real lived experience. This is what we don't hear enough of. I haven't really shared this a whole lot, but I think it's important. I'm someone who was a case manager for women in shelter, helping to support young women, pregnant women in shelter, and found myself years later getting pregnant and having to be on the other side as someone who was a client in that same situation. I mean, folks need to understand this is not about whether or not you work hard to get your kids where they are. Socioeconomic status is not something you just pop in and out of, right? Like we're all over the place.
I'm so glad that you shared this story because I don't really talk about this a lot, but I had a similar experience. I used to work at MTV. I was, in the triple digits. I was making good money. I decided to move back to Boston. I ended up becoming pregnant. But before I did, I was working at UMass Boston. I had a contract there. And one of my interns, I was supervising an intern. I ended up getting pregnant. I had what they call a cliff effect, right? So I went from earning a lot to making probably more than less than half of what I was making. And ended up having to be on Mass Health, and I walked into the welfare office. This is a woman who had an amazing job and was financially stable. I had to walk into the welfare office after growing up in it, walk to the welfare office to apply for food stamps, and the woman that took me in was my intern. So you want to talk about full circle. That socioeconomic status is not something, it's not that you arrive at something. It is an ebb and flow of ups and downs. And that's why I know what it's like to have $10 in my bank account and not know if I'm going to have enough money for rent. Like, I've lived that life. And when you live that life and those experiences that you've shared, Josette, that gives us a sense of compassion, but that also gives us innovation. That gives us ideas of how we're going to address problems differently.
That's right. And the fact that, I got chills when you said that, because there's moments where I think even the trauma of having to find myself on the other side. I was the person who was supporting families through a plan on how to get, self-sufficiency, how to get permanent housing. And then I had to find myself on the other side saying, wow, I can't believe I'm here. And the fact that somehow folks diminish you, minimize you as if you don't deserve dignity, right? Like somehow I caused this. I caused myself to be in this situation. I was an underwage worker for how long? Even working for the Boston Public Schools. Folks may or may not know that. I don't know if you think everybody at the headquarters make a ton of money, but that's not true. And so the reality is, when you're trying to survive in the city and you're doing all you can to just stay afloat, it's absolutely violent on families to look at them and then not understand that they don't come from the same safety nets that others come from. We don't have the, that privilege where we can lay back on and say somehow we're well taken care of. Sometimes those of us who have worked our whole lives and have contributed to these systems are also folks who have to utilize these systems. And we need these systems to work for us, not to work against us.
Yeah. My restorative moment was, after sharing, my story, is that I ended up doing a training for DTA, which was, used to be called the welfare office, but now it's DTA.
Oh, I know. I worked with them. I know.
And I had to, my job, it was a quick project that I had, and my job was to train um, the case managers on like customer service, like how do you treat people with dignity. And I had to walk them through, and my training, and it wasn't intentional, but it was intentional because it happened organically because it was supposed to happen, is that in my session, many of them disclosed that they were once upon a time on the other side. And then I said, I want that to be your why. When you have somebody in front of you, I want you to think about your own experience, right? And use that as your why and how you're going to handle this person differently. Um, and so that was my full circle moment. So let's talk a little bit about your, like, how can people get with you? You need money, you need time, talent, and treasure. People need to knock on doors for you. Come on, tell us what they need to do.
Come on. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank folks who decided to jump in and listen tonight and watch and know that, Julia, you are doing something incredible for our community, right? Like you said, you started. I was although you're running, right? You're creating a platform for others, and so that is not only to be appreciated, but I want to say this because last night I was on the radio station and I was asked about, who don't I like? Who's, again, people want to know who your opposition is and, who you want to take out. And, it's really, I say disgusting at some level that people want us to play those old school politics. I did not come from a political background where I felt like I wanted to step in this space to make a name for myself by ensuring that I dig up dirt on people or find someone who I felt like was, I had animosity towards. First of all, I don't even know most of the candidates that I'm running against. I know them by name because I know that they're running in this district, but I came in here to be an ally, period. I came in here to do the work, and we don't have, I think, the privilege of stepping into this space as candidates to think about how we're going to use all this time and energy to really dismantle one another. As people of color, we have to start seeing each other as allies. We have to align ourselves with one another, especially if we want to push policy that is going to change the landscape and the scope of the work. So I feel like, as a community organizer who's asking to be the politician, I'm asking for folks to step into this space with me to really mobilize, move, and change our community for good. This is not about going back. This is about being better and being better together. So Josette, voteforjosette.com is my website. I'm on Facebook. I'm door knocking. I'm making phone calls. I am connecting with people. One of the things I have to say, my campaign team always says I'm not that good at, is that, door knocking for me should be, keep it moving. But because those who know me, I'm a relationship builder. I can't not stop talking to people about what their needs are, what they want to see happen for their community, and how much invest. When you door knock, you learn so much about people. You can have your thoughts and theories, about your community, but until you door knock and you get a real scope of where people sit, what they know, how invested they are in their communities. I've got enough vegetables now from the community gardens that I have been in and around District 4 from folks who are adamant about urban farming and quality foods, to folks who are like, I don't understand why American Legion happened, right? Like, you are really getting a real scope of how to sit in a seat and how to, advocate for folks. And so for me, that is the meat of this work, right? That is how we really connect, build relationships. And then folks will say to me, Josette, when you're in the seat, don't forget about us, right? First of all, thank you for manifesting that, because I do see myself in the seat. But even if I'm not, whoever's in the seat, we need to be ready to support them, uplift them, and ensure that we amplify all of these voices, because we're not trying to turn back time, right? And we're not trying to have status quo continue. We are seeing some major changes. And as a recent graduate of Emerge, I know my sister here, you're an Emerge sister, right? But the political lab,
yes.
Come
The
on.
political lab. You know,
Come on.
we created that space, and you were one of the first cohorts to go through it, and you like lit up the joint, and you utilized every single resource. Like, I love the fact that you're hungry for information. You were memorable.
I listen, I cannot be in this and not do the work, right? I came in here and frankly, listen, I have one child. She just got into Northeastern University, covered. My baby is covered. Do you hear me? She got a scholarship. I am so proud to have navigated this space. And I did it in a village. My village and the capital that I've gained from my village has been tremendous. So I know this isn't easy. I want to support other families to help show, what they can do and how they can be a part of this village. But it's each one teach one, it's navigate, it's leverage, and it's keep it moving. So I'm coming back to support our community. I'm staying here. I'm staying in the community. I want folks to know it's about their voices, right? And for me, I just know that, this seat was made for this voice, right? And given the opportunity, truly given the opportunity, I need folks to come out here and show that I'm the voice they want to see. September 14th is around the corner. And, as much as I love these forums, to be able to, get to folks, it's really about, getting to these doors so they understand how I differentiate from other folks. And I think there's some great candidates in my district.
Yeah.
And I hope that we are leveraging, no matter who gets in the seat, we're leveraging all of this superpower collectively going forward. So
Yeah.
I'm saying get out here and help.
Yeah. So I remember one of our first conversations, Josette, and you were contemplating, you're not sure what you were going to do. And I, what, Josette? I think I didn't have everything lined up. I didn't even know what a campaign manager. I only volunteered on campaigns. I didn't know the first thing. But when you know your heart, when you know your passion, and you know your people, and you know what you want to fight for, and you have your moral compass, that's all you need. Everything else will fall into place. And God has blessed you with all of those things, right? You have had an outpouring of people showing up for you. And so, embrace all of that. Stay true to yourself, hit those doors, show up as you are everywhere you go, rock your little tutu if you have to.
It might be coming. I ain't gonna lie. You might see a few
don't deny us of such. And I'm just so incredibly proud that you decided to stand in your power and lead and run, and for whatever it's worth, this is your journey, this is your moment, your time, and so thank you for running. Thank you for running.
And thank you for your words. And I want people to know it was important for me to reach out to folks that I respect, to folks I see as someone who is great leadership for not just today, but for long term, and how we are really going to change this landscape is going to be because of people like you, Julia. Like I said, at the radio station, Marv said they believe that you were their one vote. They were like, listen, Jonathan and Marv was like, we're going to tell you honestly, had Julia not come here, had we not had an opportunity to meet her, and that's why I think it's so important what you're doing is for folks to get to know who's sitting, who wants to sit rather in these seats. The only way to really do this is by talking and connecting. And they love you. They think you're, and I love you. So I know what they love. I got to see that early on.
I had to ensure that this Woke Women Wednesday show created space for all the women that are running, and that you all each have your own 30-minute platform, because these forums give you 30 seconds to answer a question, a minute to introduce yourself, and 90 seconds if you're lucky to say bye. So I think, and knocking on doors, you got to keep it moving because you got to hit a 50 doors in one session. But the thing is that the more people get to hear you and see you and be in community with you, the more they understand who you are, where your heart is, and why you're running. And I think that's why I am invested in creating space. I even have some of the women that are running in my own race featured in this show, because it's not about me. It's about creating space for women to showcase who they are and why they're running. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to do this work whether I get elected or not, because you and I were both doing this work even before we got elected. So we don't need titles to do this work, because the work is going to continue regardless. But we want to be in those seats because we know that what we bring to the table will change the conversation. And that is the difference between why we run.
Listen, I mean, you preach 30 minutes or not, know that there's going to be a lot more platform. And I feel like, you know, I'm given this opportunity because I'm going to be able to align myself with folks like you who are already, you know, pushing the envelope, ensuring that there's change, and ensuring that we're dismantling what needs to be dismantled in policy for our people.
And we're over time before my producers. Y'all let me just tell us one more time, your social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. What's your @handle?
So let's get it. For my website, voteforjosette.com. For my Facebook page, Josette Williams for District 4, and Josette for D4 on Instagram and on Twitter.
Okay, so I got vote for JOSETT.com, right? That's your website?
JOSETTE. Make sure there's an E at the end.
Yeah, there is an E at the end.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it right so that everybody can see it. Did I do it right?
Voteforjosette.com. You got it. You got it.
Guys. So that's where you link up. That's where you find our social. That's where you can make a donation. Listen, it's your time, talent, and treasure. Campaigns are hot. And so we need everyone to recognize that if you want to have representation, you're going to have to invest in it one way or another. So thank you so much for joining us this evening, Josette. We appreciate you, and keep on running, and I'll see you on the campaign trail.
I know that's right. Keep up the good work.
Bye, my love.
Take care, babe. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, that is Woke Women Wednesdays. I hope you had a good night with us. Next week, we're going to be featuring another woman that's running. We will make announcements. I believe it's District 7 next week. And then we have another at-large counselor. We have people lined up the whole summer. So get yourselves well informed. When you walk into the voting, the booth, you need to know who's who. All right. So thank you so very much for tuning in. Don't forget to stay woke, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Until then, be well, stay safe, and don't forget, stay woke. Lots of love. Bye.